Hey everybody, it's Tree and we're looking at another GLC set review. Today we're looking at technically two sets. We have Black Bolt and we have White Flare. This is interesting because normally English sets are combined into one giant set. This time that is not the case. We have two separate lists. So I'm going to be bouncing back and forth from lists to cover all the same Pokemon in the same type. So we'll go through both sets and look at the most applicable Pokemon. We'll review all the trainers, and then lastly we will review my ranking of archetypes in the format. So first we are going to look at Amoonguss, which is a stage 1 and has an attack for a colorless, does 30 damage, but if your opponent's Pokemon is affected by a special condition, it does 120 more, so 150 for 1, pretty dang good. You could easily pair this with something like the Ariados that just automatically poisons your opponent's Pokemon. And kind of put this into a special condition grass deck. So he's super low maintenance, so I think he's pretty solid. I'm gonna give him a 3. So jumping over to White Flare, we're gonna be looking at this Shelmet, which has an interesting ability, Stimulated Evolution. If you have Carablast in play, this Pokemon can evolve on the first turn you play it. So Shelmet and Carablast always have synergy together in the TCG. So to utilize this ability, you do have to play a Carablast. Unfortunately, all the Carablasts are quite mid, but if you wanted to play around an Excelgor deck, there's a couple really decent options that you could get going as soon as turn 1. So just keep the Shelmet in mind if you really want to play Excelgor. Speaking of which, we're going to look at this new Excelgor, which for 1 does 50 flip coin. If heads, discard an energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. So this is okay. If you can do this turn 1, it could be quite strong. But I think most of the time it's going to be a little too weak, and you're relying on a coin flip. So I'm going to give this Excelgor a 2. I think there are better Excelgors to play, in my opinion. So that's going to do it for grass. We're now going to look at fire. First up, we have this Darmanitan, which for 4 energy it does 180, and then you discard 2 energy from this Pokemon. So I think this guy could be pretty good in a Charizard-based list where you're only attacking for 2 and doing 180. That's pretty decent. Obviously, in the it doesn't work as well in your Snipe variant of Fire that is pretty new in the format. So, but in a regular list with Charizard, I think this guy is pretty good, and then you only have to discard 1 energy off of him, actually. So I'm going to give Darmanitan a 3, a solid attacker. Then we have this Volcarona, where to use the ability, you have to discard a basic fire from your hand, but then you can leave your opponent's active Pokemon burned. So Shout out to you burn players with fire. This is a pretty solid option to leave your opponent borned so you can do your stuff. So I'm going to give Volcarona a 3 for that archetype. And then we have this Embor, which is a reprint, but has the ability that you can attach as many fire energy, basic fire energy from your hand to your Pokemon. As much as you want. So it's your fire hydro pump enabler, right? And this is a really strong effect if you want to go that route. This has already existed, but here he is again. He probably has a slightly better attack too than the other one, and probably more HP. I'm not sure, but very strong ability, so I'm going to give Embor a 4. And then lastly for fire, we do have this new Heatmore, which is interesting. For 1 fire, you get to search your deck for up to 3 in any combination of fire Pokemon and fire energy and put them into your hand. So I think this guy is a really strong starter, right? If you can start him, he's really, really good for setting up. Any time after that, he's really not good, but yeah, I still think he's quite strong for setting up. You do have the Volcanion that accelerates energy, so you could play like this and that if you wanted to go heavy on the setup, early setup starters. But yeah, I think this first attack is really good, so I'm going to give Heatmore a 3. So then we have water. And first up, we'll look at this Samurott. Stage 2 has the ability Torrential Whirlpool. Once during your turn, you may switch your active Pokemon to the bench. If you do, your opponent has to switch out their active to the bench, but they get to choose. So it's essentially an escape rope on an ability every single turn. So really, really good. This could actually be like really quite strong in your like Palafin lists, you know, where you really want to play a decent amount of switch outs. So that's very, very good. But then it has an attack for 1 water, it does 30, but then it does 50 more for each energy attached to this Pokemon, which is also a really good attack. So if you have 3 energy on it, it's doing 180, which, you know, is quite doable in water, we know. This also works with reversal energy, which is quite strong as well. So I'm going to give Samurott a 4. Just a really solid ability and solid attack. Let's see. Sorry, I'm looking at 2 separate lists. Oh yeah, okay. So we have this Swanna, which for 3 colorless, 120, discard an energy from this Pokemon. It's like fine. It's nothing special. I just wanted to point out that you can use this with the Z Crystal because it has Air Slash, which lets you attack for 4 energy, doing 180, and then it's immune to damage next turn. So maybe in a tool-focused water deck or something, you could throw this guy in for quite a bit of spice. So I'm going to give Swanna a 3 just for that. It really, you do kind of have to build around that Z Crystal tool, but it's super hype, so, and hype is better than everything. Okay, switching back over to Black Bolt, we have this new Tortuga, right? So it's a stage 1 from a fossil, but its first attack for a single energy does 30 damage times the amount of item cards in your opponent's discard pile. And if this sounds familiar, this is on an old Garbodor that did 20 times the amount and was a broken card, saw a huge amount of play. Very, very strong attack, and they put it back on another Pokemon for 30 times. So this attack is just so strong. You don't even have to play Caracosta to evolve onto this thing. You could just play this on its own because this attack is just like so good. So I'm gonna give this Tortuga a 4. It's hands down the best Tortuga. But we will look at this Caracosta, which has the ability Mighty Shell, where you prevent all damage from and effects of attacks from opponents' Pokemon that have any special energy attached. So this is really quite strong into Colorless. It can be a direct counter to Colorless, but there are plenty of other lists that play a lot of special energy. Some Psychic lists, for example, they love their special energy with the Necrozma. Other like special whales, this could be quite strong into special whales in the mirror, quote unquote. So yeah, a good ability in the right matchup, and then its attack is also pretty decent for 3 energy. You're doing 150, which is quite good actually. That's KOing like all basic Pokemon. And then if they're living, though, during your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon can't retreat, which I suppose could come in handy if you need to stall or something. But overall, Caracosta, a decent Mon, so I'm gonna give it a 3. Okay, now this is what I'm most excited about. Okay, here we go. We have this Alomamola, which is a palindrome, by the way. And it has this ability, Gentle Fin, where once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in your active spot, you may put a basic Pokemon with 70 HP or less from your discard pile onto your bench. And I was really thinking about it. I was like, okay, how can we make this a strong ability? Who are we pairing this with, right? And I have invented a new archetype in GLC. Are you ready? We're gonna pair this with this Wishy-Washy, right? So it has 30 HP to start, but it has the ability, if it has 3 or more water energy attached, it gets 150 more HP. So, and then its attack does 30 plus 30 more for each basic energy attached to this Pokemon. So, you get to constantly bring this back with your Alomamola, right? Every single turn, you promote this guy to the active. You have a U-turn board attached to him, or whatever. You bring back your Wishy-Washy, and then you accelerate all your water energy to this guy, and then you're just KOing a bunch of stuff while you're getting 2 hit KO'd most of the time. Yeah, and so you pair this with like Frostmoth, and then you're gonna want to get your energy back and stuff. So I think it would be a good idea to maybe also play like Starmie or the Huntel. And then other water recovery options, and then you can also just still play the Wailord because it's the best card in water. best attacker in water. So, uh, yeah, I freaking love this card because of the wishy-washy. And the best part, are you ready for this? The archetype. The name of the deck is called Wish, Wash, and Repeat. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Like and subscribe. So, Alola Mola is going to get a 3 from me. Um, it's not broken, but I think it could be a lot of fun to play around. So yeah. And I believe, yep, that is it for water. So, we're gonna go to lightning now. Just a shout out with this Emolga, it is a reprint, which is a very nice starting Pokemon. It has free retreat, and it has call for family to search for 2 basic Pokemon straight onto your bench. So that is very good starting out. And then you have a free retreater for the rest of the game if it does not get KO'd. So it's a solid support Pokemon. I'm gonna give it a 3. I do want to point out the Eels. They reprinted the Electric, which everything is the exact same. It's the exact same as the Dynamotor we already have. So play the old one or play this one, whatever you got. This guy is going to be way more accessible. I do want to point out this Tynamo. This is absolutely the most optimal Tynamo that you should be playing because it has 40 HP instead of 30 and has free retreat, just like the other one that had 30 HP. So, new most optimal Tynamo that everyone should be playing. And then over in a White Flare, we do have this Galvantula that I wanted to point out, which has an attack for a single lightning, does 50 damage. So you discard all lightning energy from this Pokemon, and it does 50 damage for each card you discarded in this way. So I think that this guy could be pretty good in maybe a lightning deck that's not trying to spread. So you could like Dynamotor a couple times to this thing, attach for turn, and then boom, you're hitting for 150, which is quite good, quite strong. So, and this guy is searchable off level ball. Just pointing that out. So I'm gonna give Galvantula a 3, just a pretty solid attacker because you have a lot of ways to accelerate your energy onto him. Plus you have a busted Joltik that you can play in the deck. So that's gonna do it for lightning. We actually don't have much in psychic that I want to talk about. But the first thing I'm gonna point out is this Gothitelle, which stage 2 has the ability once during your turn, if it is in the active, you can have your opponent shuffle their hand into their deck and draw 3 cards. This is a very strong ability, very disruptive to your opponent, especially if they don't have draw support set up. But also you can pair this with things like Delinquent, things like the Banette that makes your opponent shuffle 3 cards into their deck or something like that. And so this can be extremely disruptive. And then Synchro Shot. If you have the same number of cards in your hand as your opponent, it does 90 more damage for 2 energy. So 180 for 2. Very, very strong. I think this could go right into a deck with Iron Boulder because you're already kind of playing around Iron Boulder. So you're trying to match hand sizes that way. And even if you're not attacking this with this, it might actually make things easier with Iron Boulder if you need to match those hand sizes. So Gothitelle, I think is pretty solid. I'm going to give It's a 4. Then on the Black Bolt side, we have this Reuniclus that, for one colorless, for each of your bench Pokemon, you search a card that evolves from that Pokemon and put it onto that Pokemon. So, really good starting out, for setting up if you need to. But then its second attack, 40 damage for a single energy, but then it does 40 more damage for each evolution Pokemon in play. So in a heavy evolution deck with Psychic, which, I mean, you're already playing like 3 evolution lines, right? With Gallade, Malamar, you've got Xatu. If you have all of them in play plus this guy, you're doing 190. If you have 2 of them plus this guy, then wait, did I do that right? Let's see. Yeah. No, I did it wrong. If you have all 3 of those and this guy, then you're doing 200, which is very, very good, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, sorry. 200 if you have all of them. If you only have this guy and 2 of those guys, then you're doing a 160, which is still very, very strong. So I think this guy is going to get a 4 as well. Very solid Pokemon. That is it for Psychic. We are going to move on to fighting. We have this Conkeldurr, which has Stage 2 140 HP, but it gets plus 40 HP for each fighting energy attached to it. So, its attack is for 4, so ideally you want 4 energy on this guy. And it would have 300 HP, which is very, very good. And then swing around, it does 100 damage. You flip 2 coins, and it does 50 more for each heads. So on average, you're doing 150, which is solid, right? It's just getting that energy. I believe this does work with reversal energy, so that is quite nice. But he is a stage 2 in fighting, which requires a lot of energy, so I do worry about that. I think he'll fall short sometimes, so I am going to give him a 2. Maybe a 3, though. That ability is quite good. 2 or 3. And then we're going to switch to this Gigalith, which has an attack for a single fighting, 20 damage for each damage counter on all of your bench fighting Pokemon. So in a low maintenance like Earthquake style list, I think this guy is awesome because you're going to be damaging your bench a couple times. And this can reach very, very high numbers. So that's really cool. And then 3 energy for 160 is also just like a solid attack. So I'm going to give Gigalith a 3. Most likely just fitting in Earthquake decks, but yeah. Next we're going to talk about this Archeops, which has the ability Ancient Wing. Once during your turn, if it's in the active, you may devolve one of your opponent's evolved Pokemon and putting the highest stage in their hand. So I think that this guy is quite good in a spread fighting list, whether that is with what is it? I think Ting Lu, is that the fighting one? I hope so. Or you could play this in Hitmons, right? It is a fossil. It is a stage 2 in fighting, so this might be hard, but In a spread deck specifically, this could be quite good because you might want to be playing the devolution TM anyway, and this just like enables that further. Um, this also was quite nice. If they're trying to set up a stage 2, then you can keep uh, de-evolving their stage 1, and so they can't ever get to that stage 2, funnily enough, unless they have like rare candy. So I'm gonna give Archeops a 3, a solid mon, and then we're gonna look at this Terrakion, which has Retaliate for 2, 50 damage, but it's a revenge attack, so if one of your Pokemon was knocked out by attacks, it does 80 more damage. So we're looking at 130 for 2. This is easily boostable in fighting. You have your muscle bands, your fighting stadium, fighting dojo, and your strong energy. So yeah, just a solid Retaliate. I will say I think the Lucario is probably just better. It is better, actually. But you know, you could have this as your revenge guy, and maybe you could play another Lucario if you really wanted to. But I'm gonna give Terrakion a 3. It is just a solid Retaliate revenge Pokemon. So let's see. There's only one dark Pokemon we're talking about, but boy is it good. Zoroark, right? So a lot of people are hyped on this card. I am as well. So in GLC, you have had 2 extremely solid options for Zoroarks in your dark list. You've had the Mind Jack Zoroark and the Foul Play Zoroark, and people have had to decide which one to use. How about you just play both in one Pokemon? Because they combined both of their best attacks into one card. So for 1 Dark Energy, this attack does 30 damage for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. So 1 Energy, you're doing, 150, 120, easily boostable. So very, very good attack. And then Foul Play, if you can manage to power it up, is a copycat. You get to copy one of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks, and it doesn't require them using that last turn. So this Zoroark is so strong. I'm gonna give it a 5. It is just so good having that flexibility. But that is it for Dark. So we're going to move on to Metal, which is starting on the other list. We do have this Clean Clang. Has the ability Gear Coating, which all of your Pokemon that have any metal energy attached take 20 less damage from attacks. So this is quite stackable in Metal. You know, you have so many like resistances to damage, right? Like you have the Stadium, you have your Zamazenta, which is like your best attacker in the deck, which already takes 30 less. You have so many tools to negate damage, so this just adds on top of that and makes your Pokemon even bulkier and harder to one-hit KO. So very solid. I'm going to give it a 3. And then we do have this Cobalion, which is pretty decent. For 1 energy, it does 20. Discard a special energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. Can really come in handy a lot of the time. You know, getting rid of like your opponent's double dragon or their double turbo, something like that. And then for 3 energy, Does 80 damage if this has a tool attached, which you probably will. Metal has a lot of good tools. Then it does 40 more. So 120 for 3, and then it can be boostable if that tool happens to be, uh, like Muscle Band or Fighting Fury Belt, and then you're hitting 130 with your Fighting Fury Belt, which is actually like the magic number right now. So Cabalion, pretty solid. I'm gonna give it a 3. Solid option. We only have a single Pokemon for Dragon, but we have this new Haxorus. Has the Crosscut attack for 2 colorless. Does 80 damage. If they're an evolution Pokemon, does 80 more. So 160 for 2 with no drawbacks is quite strong. Very, very good attack. But then its second attack for 3, if they're a basic Pokemon, they're just knocked out. Straight up. So this Haxorus is quite good. I think he's a contender as one of the best Haxoruses you could play. I might even play this over the one that does 230, honestly. Yeah, he is good. He doesn't have drawbacks really. So he has an attack for both kinds of things, right? Basic or evolution. So really, if he's powered up, he is got a great attack for either situation. So I'm gonna give this Haxorus a 4, actually. Anytime we have an Unpheasant, I have to look at it because we have quite an interesting Pidove. Is that what it's called? Yeah, Pidove. Not that one, but the one that cheats evolution. So this one has a colorless. You draw 4 cards, so it's a Filch, but like 2 times better. So that's cool. And then 2 colorless, 120. This is also boostable easily, right? Then you flip a coin. If heads, you prevent all damage and effects done to this Pokemon. So, pretty good. And it has free retreat, too. So, he's actually pretty decent. So, I'm going to give him a 3. Pretty good contender for an Unpheasant to pair with that really nice Pidove. And that's it for Pokemon, actually. We're going to go on to trainers. We do have a Repin of Air Balloon. Very great tool. New fossil, yep. Okay, next, newest card. We have this energy coin, which you flip 2 coins. If both are heads, you search for a basic energy and attach it to one of your Pokemon. So, this is working 25% of the time, so pretty low. But I mean, if you've got if you need some energy acceleration in a low maintenance deck, then maybe you can play this. It is quite a strong effect, but like I said, it's only working 25% of the time. So, but a very good option for Forest coin flip format. Shout out to that. So I'm gonna give energy coins a 2. Most of the time it's not working out. So we're gonna look at this Fennel, where you heal 40 damage from each of your Pokemon. If you're going up against a spread deck, this card is busted, right? You're just like completely negating their like last turn, right? But in other situations, it's just like very, very weak. So I'm gonna give it a 2. It is just too situational. We have End's Plan next, though, where you move up to 2 energy from your bench to your active. So this could be quite good if you need to like Dynamotor to the bench, or maybe your acceleration can only go to the bench. But then you could play this to like move it, you know? So That is a thing. Um, so I'm gonna give N's plan a 3. It can be useful in those situations. Reprint of Pokegear, reprint of Research with Juniper, reprint of Prism Energy, very very good energy, very very solid. Now it's quite easily accessible. And then on the other side, we have a new Plume Fossil, Brave Bengal, useless in GLC. We have Sharon, which is draw 3. We already have reprint of Energy Retrieval. We have this Harlequin, which each player shuffles their hand into their deck. You flip a coin. If heads, you draw 5, they draw 3. If tails, you draw 3 and your opponent draws 5. So I think this is just way too risky, and I would much rather just like play Marnie, right? Yeah, like Marnie is just like better in every single way, right? So I'm gonna give Harlequin a 1. And then we have this Hilda, which you search your deck for an evolution Pokemon and an energy card. Could be useful in some situations. Maybe in like a grass deck or something. Uh, yeah, it's not the worst. I'm gonna give Hilda a 3. I think it's all right. And then tools, reprint of Tool Scrapper. If you're really worried about tools, then you could play this in addition to Field Blower. Obviously, Field Blower is just way better, but this is still a good, solid item to get rid of tools. So, and then we have Ignition Energy, which is kind of a reprint. Where what is it? Triple acceleration energy, I think is what it's called. So if it's attached to a Pokemon, you have to discard it at the end of turn, just like the other one. And as long as this card is attached to a Pokemon, it provides a colorless energy, but if they're an evolution, it provides 3 colorless energy instead. So it can be very good, but it's kind of like putting a band-aid on your board state, essentially, in the sense that, like, at the end of your turn, it's gone, and then the next turn, you still have to figure out your energy situation. So can be good for those quick burst attacks, and it only works on evolution Pokemon, so keep that in mind. But it's not the worst energy. I'm going to give it a 3. And that's everything. Black Bolt and White Flare. Alright. There was a lot of interesting cards. I don't think there are any to make an impact on the my archetype tier list. What I need to do is add the Wish, Wash, and Repeat deck, which is obviously going to be S tier. It's going to be the most broken deck. Watch out for the Wish, Wash, and Repeat deck. But yeah, that's gonna do it for this video. If you disagree with me, let me know in the comments. If I missed any Pokemon, let me know in the comments. If you want to say hi, then put it in the comments. I don't know what I'm saying. Okay, I'm leaving. Love you, bye.